Welcome to the How to Scale Commercial Real Estate Show. Whether you are an active or passive investor, we'll teach you how to scale your real estate investing business into something big.
Darren, welcome to the show.
I'm grateful to be here, Sam. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here.
Oh, this is great. This is great. I wish we had more time. 15 to 20 minutes isn't going to quite cut it, I don't think, today, but we'll get as much in as we possibly can. I would love to hear the same questions we ask everybody who comes on board, which is, where'd you start? Where are you now? And how'd you get there? Of course, yours includes a comeback story. So maybe we can start there and then talk more about real estate.
Sure. Quick little background about myself. I grew up in a small city in Canada called Swift Current, Saskatchewan, Canada, less than 20,000 people in population. I failed grade 1 of public school and was misdiagnosed with a learning disability and a reading disability. So I never went to regular public school. I went to special education classes from grade 1 right through grade 12. And so I was in a different, educational plan, I guess you could say. When I was 7 years of age, I created my first little business called Rent-A-Kit. I would go out and cut grass, shovel sidewalks in the wintertime, and deliver newspapers 6 days a week. And by the time I was 9 years of age, I was hiring my best friends in my neighborhood to go out and help me with different projects and different odd jobs. Failed my way through elementary, junior high, and high school. Eventually got to high school with the help of my classmates. I graduated with grade 12. Barely passed high school. Don't know how to this day I got through, but I did. Just skimmed my way through. Left high school, then moved from Swift Current, Saskatchewan, Canada, to a city called Vernon, British Columbia, Canada, and really had no direction, no focus, no purpose. So did multiple suicide attempts to end my life.
Wow.
Because I didn't believe in myself. I had a lot of negative self-talk.
Sure.
And my last attempt, by driving my car at 140 kilometers an hour, 85 miles per hour towards a telephone pole, I stopped the car and I thought, I just can't do this. I got scared. And so I drove myself to a nonprofit organization, which was a crisis line prevention organization, turned myself into a bunch of counselors and psychologists. They started to work with me through their nonprofit organization. Then one of the ladies that worked there said, you've got to go meet Dale Carnegie. This is back in the early 1990s. Well, I didn't know who Dale Carnegie was. So I showed up at this hotel, expecting to meet this gentleman to maybe mentor or influence or speak something positively into my life.
Sure.
Ended up being a 12-week training development course called Dale Carnegie Training. So I didn't have the money at the time. So I ended up signing up for the program, financed it over a year. And that changed my life in regards to Dale Carnegie. Went from there to Toastmasters, and then started getting different jobs and got into entrepreneurship. And so, long story short, got into the corporate training world back in 1995. Used to make 400 cold calls a day.
Wow.
And between 1995 and the year 2000, I made over 100,000 cold calls, sometimes 3, 4, 5 months behind on paying my rent and paying my bills, because I was so dedicated to building my business and making that take off as a startup. And so from 1995 to 2015, ended up traveling the world multiple times, training and developing over 1 million people, 50 countries on 4 continents, including 157 of the Fortune 100 companies. And then currently today, I serve on some, very successful boards of directors of public and private companies, paid for that, and advisory boards. And I have a real estate investment portfolio of spread across North America. And then Tatiana and I have our own private family foundation for global philanthropy, which over the next 10 years, we've committed $100 million to put through that foundation for global philanthropy projects. So, and then we're building a 250-year legacy plan on top of the foundation for generational wealth to flow through our foundation for 250 years for philanthropy.
Wow. That's a long way from checking yourself into a, suicide, prevention clinic to, creating a 250-year plan. I mean, the name of the show is, how to scale, of course. And I guess for you, what was the light bulb moment when you just said, hey, I think it was Dale Carnegie, maybe at that conference, but what was the moment when you said, you know what, I've got a new plan and purpose?
Absolutely. Great question. I was actually in an apple orchard. I was homeless. I had invested into a startup company that went sideways. I was the co-signer, and the bank came and repossessed everything. I was the co-signer. So they got my car, they got everything I had, froze my bank account. So I couldn't make my rent on time. So the landlord kicked me out because I couldn't find a new place to live, because back in the 1990s, you had to have 12 post-dated checks to give the landlord or property manager and first and last month's rent. And I was in the apple orchard one night, and a black bear came into the apple orchard, and I had a confrontation with a black bear. And at that moment in my life, I realized that nobody was coming to rescue me. If I had to get my crap together, if I didn't course correct and change the direction of my life, I'm going to be dead. So I made a life and death decision that I've got to, my mom was not coming. Nobody's coming to rescue me. I've got to grow up and man up. And I turned myself into a public library. And I turned myself into the business and the finance section of that public library because it was free. And I immersed myself in studying and reading. Even though I was misdiagnosed with a learning disability and a reading disability, I had to shift my belief system and my self-talk to turn things around. It didn't happen overnight. It happened over a period of years and thousands of hours of training development. And I got mentors and coaches. And so I'm grateful today in what I've achieved, a lot of success and help scale and grow companies and portfolios. And, but it's what I've learned is success leaves clues. And I've made lots of mistakes over the years and have had lots of adversities and failures and challenges. And now at the stage of the game of my life, it's my daily habits and my daily routines. And I can meet somebody in the first couple minutes, size somebody up, whether they're giving me a bunch of kumbaya, a bunch of crap in terms of what they're saying, because I don't watch what people say anymore. I watch their feet. I don't watch the lips, I watch the feet. And because the feet tell me if that person's going to be in action, if they're consistent, because behavior never lies. And without integrity, nothing works. There's no workability without integrity. It's core foundational principles. And so there's certain things that I do every day in my daily routines and my daily habits during the waking hours of my day that are non-negotiable, but you compound those daily habits and daily routines over a period of time, and the ripple of impact and the compounding effect is incredible. In terms of people who track numbers would love the numbers because it's verifiable and it's specific, it's measurable, and it's actionable. And that's what I do. So I just model and emulate what successful, high performance men and women are doing, and I put into my daily habits, daily routines, and that compounds over a period of time.
Right. I mean, that's so again, I love you went to the library, you started to, download information and read books and, plug everything into your brain that you possibly could. But even with all the information, I mean, I forget who said it. I'm stealing this from somebody else, but they said,
Sure.
If information was all you needed, every librarian would be a billionaire.
Yeah.
So what was your next step? Like, where did you go from there? I mean,
yeah, so good point. So for me I got comfortable being uncomfortable. And I realized that, pay my bills and to keep collections away from me, I had to go out and hustle and grind. And when I had my rent-a-kit business when I was 7, 8, 9 years old, I went door knocking. One thing I discovered in terms of human behavior, which is a real good unfolding for myself, and if your listeners can write this down, this is powerful, is if we look at human beings around the planet, right? We're up in the International Space Station looking down on planet Earth, and we're looking at the planet from the International Space Station. We see all these human beings running around the planet. If we really look at us, you and I, Sam, or anybody listening to this around the world, all we are is a network of conversations. All we are is a network of conversations with other human beings. Just think about that. If we just break things down, right? Because I'm a simple guy when it comes to, the way I was educated with self-education, and formal education, I was simple. So I had to quite understand things because I had a learning disability and a reading disability I was labeled with. All we are is a network of conversations. So anything that we want in our lives is going to come from strangers. It's going to come from other human beings. Now, here's the key thing. There's 2 questions that changed my life. These are the $1 million questions. Question number 1 is, where am I not requesting in my life? Where am I not requesting in my life? So here's the key thing. For every question that we don't ask, the answer is always no. Right?
Right. Absolutely.
So when we make a request, people will only do one of 3 things. There's only one of 3 things they're going to do. Step number 1 is they'll accept the request. They'll accept it. Step number 2 is they'll decline the request. Right? They'll decline it. Or step number 3 is they'll counter offer it. Children are masters at this, right? Go to the grocery store at the checkout and they want a chocolate bar, right? What are they doing? They're making requests all the time. So the thing is that you got to look at is that where are we not requesting in our lives? Everything that we want is going to come from strangers because all we are is a network of conversation. So I've mastered making requests in my life personally and professionally. So step number 1 is, where am I not requesting in my life? Question number 2 is, who do I become when I don't make requests? So if you just do an audit, just do self-discovery, self-evaluation in your life, in a journal, a diary, or go for a walk, and just think, where am I not requesting in my life? So just look at your to-do list. Look at things that are not getting done. Look at things that are not working for you in your personal life. Where are you not making requests? So it could be getting referrals, endorsements, recommendations. It could be having somebody do some odd jobs or chores around your household. It could be looking after your children for a couple hours so you can return some phone calls or have a date night, right? Where are you not requesting? So, and then who do you become when you don't request? So when we look at who do we become when we don't request, we're contracting. We're coming from lack and scarcity versus abundance and prosperity. We're doing everything by ourselves, which then limits our growth and opportunity. So when I realized that when I got out of the way of myself, I could grow and scale very fast. And when people want to grow and scale like commercial real estate or residential real estate or grow and scale an investment portfolio, whatever it is, I help take a company from startup to a multi-billion-dollar company, right? One of the things I've done, and we can do that in another episode, I can unpack that and share what you did to where we went from a startup to over 40,000 people around the world in a company, right? It's just incredible what we've done in less than, a decade of time. And the key thing is that one is where am I not requesting in my life? Really look at in your life, where are you not requesting? And then who do you become when you don't make requests? And you will discover, because everything in our lives comes down to making requests and promises. And promises is the easiest thing, what I discovered in my life through a lot of adversities and failures, the easiest thing to do is to break our word. What we give our word to is our promise. And what I used to have really low self-esteem, I didn't believe in myself. I had no direction. I had no focus. I had no purpose. I was all over the place, chasing shiny objects, chasing squirrels, distractions, you name it. I was a master of that.
Sure.
What I got was really focused now. And what I realized was in my life by focusing was understanding that in our lives, when we make a promise, do we keep it? You see, the thing is, if we just start to look at every day that we wake up during the waking hours of the day, what are you making promises to? What do you promise yourself? You say, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to clean up my house. I'm going to go get groceries. I'm going to run some errands. And you don't follow through. Each time you don't follow through on your personal promise to yourself, it affects your self-worth. It affects your vibration of energy. It affects your confidence. So what I really discovered in my life, being awake now in my life, because I used to be unawake and unaware, was what do I give my word to? What's my promise? So like you and I, I'll give you an example, Sam. So you and I had a commitment because I gave you my word to do this interview with you.
Right.
If I was 1 minute late on this call, logging in to be on this call, first thing I would have did before we move on, I would have restored my integrity. Because without integrity, nothing works. Because, you would have said, oh, don't worry about it, Darren. But to me, I gave you my word because in the back of people's minds is the unspoken. And this is a great way for people to understand if they want to grow and scale things, or they want to build financial wealth, is if you just take on this year, one key thing, start to really pay attention to what comes out of your mouth and what you give your word to, because what you give your word to is so easy to break. But the impact in other human beings' lives is, I'll give you an example. Just the other day, I was on a group Zoom video conferencing call. And one of the decision makers, one of the key people who set up the meeting, was on the meeting agenda, showed up 7 minutes late.
Oh, wow.
Hey, everybody, Happy New Year. Good to see everybody. I was sitting in the back thinking, this guy, I don't trust him. He's unreliable. And there's three types of money in life. There's calm money, cautious money, and nervous money. So whenever people are raising money or investing in things, one of the things I teach people on is there's three types of money. There's calm money, cautious money, and nervous money. So a great exercise is that whenever you go buy something, whether it's online or in person, just ask yourself, when you're pulling out your credit card or your debit card or pulling out cash, is your money calm, cautious, or nervous? When somebody approaches you through social media and wants you to take a look at some startup company or some real estate or some investment opportunity, is your money calm, cautious, or nervous? So it's kind of like a traffic light: green for calm, yellow for cautious, red for nervous. So if something's calm, green light, I'll proceed further through a discovery call and through due diligence. If it's yellow, cautious, I get my team around me, accountants or lawyer or Tatiana or other people in my life, to do a deeper dive of due diligence and to vet it, right? And see about punching holes in it. If I feel at all it's nervous money, red light, I'm out, 100% out. There's no convincing. I'm done. And the key thing is for your listeners who are watching or listening, if you reflect in your life, if you've ever invested into something that's never went the way it went sideways, you've lost your money, just check in with yourself, do an honest gut check and say, was I calm, cautious, or nervous? Was I elated? Did I get a dopamine fix? Did I feel good? Was I in speculation mode? Was I looking? Because what I do in investments is Tatiana and I spend 80% of our time when we're into the discovery process, the due diligence process, 80% of our time between Tatiana and our team is spent on asset protection and looking at how the deal is structured and how do we protect ourselves. So risk mitigation and asset protection. And the mindset is you flip it. See, most people are always looking at the upside. What's the return on investment? For us is that we're asking, like the number one question I always ask in the discovery process or due diligence is how is our money protected? And in 45 seconds or less, if you cannot tell me simply, not complex wise, because I get some people like get so complex, I'm like, okay, I'm out. I'm nervous money.
Right.
Because if you can't tell me in 45 seconds or less how my money is protected, then I have no interest in the investment opportunity. Because the more complex something is, the more it's going to be easier to get the return on investment, to get paid back.
Right.
And that's why, like with cryptocurrency right now, I don't get involved with it because to me, it's a lot of speculation it's a lot of, you know what I mean? And nobody can tell me how my money's protected.
Right. Right.
And I would never use active income to invest into a speculative investment. I'd only use passive income to invest into that opportunity.
Right. Go ahead. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Never use active income. If you're doing anything speculative, anything that's a high risk investment, never use active or earned income to invest into it. Also, you have to go in with the mindset that you're going to lose potentially 100% of the investment and it's not going to change or alter your lifestyle.
Right.
A lot of people go in and they put money into something that if they lose it, it's going to have a direct impact in the quality of their life, their lifestyle. Whenever I invest in something, if it's a different higher level of risk, if I lose 100% of it, it's not going to change or alter my lifestyle.
Right. Right. And those are things obviously that you do on the front end. You say, all right, look, this is, and I don't, this is probably the wrong word to use, but it's gambling money. It is, well, this is the risk we're taking on and we may walk away with absolutely nothing. So that's interesting how you categorize those different types of investments. And it's funny also, I think, how you have that green, red, yellow light kind of gut check. Mm-hmm. I mean, so many of us have, and I passed on a deal, this just, to reiterate what you're saying, passed on a deal a couple of years ago. It was a very large deal and it made sense on paper and man, it looked great. And I was scared to death and I couldn't sleep. And not until I made that call to the guys I was investing with and said, hey guys, I'm out. Mm-hmm. I mean, as soon as I hung up the phone, I weighed like 500 pounds less. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel great. And I mean, not that I had some sort of, a sense ahead of time, but the deal hasn't gone well. Yeah. It did not survive COVID, really coming out rosy. So that's interesting. I know we've gone a little long today. I would love to hear, briefly how you guys have prepared, because I know we talked about this before we came on the recording, how you guys have prepared for 2020, really starting in 2017.
Yeah. So Tatiana and I, back in 2017, so we do a monthly financial meeting and we go through everything over the last 30 days. Then we do a quarterly balance sheet meeting and then we do a year in review. And one of the things that we do is we always do a thing called scenario planning. It's very important to incorporate into your life, or if you're having a family meeting, is a scenario planning. We speculate in terms of just in case or what if, and we scenario plan on worst possible case scenarios. What could possibly go wrong in our investment of our portfolio of investments? What could probably go wrong in the marketplace or political election? We just speculate and do scenario planning. No different than if a pilot's in a flight simulator, they speculate worst case scenarios in their pilot training, right? So we speculate all that stuff in terms of scenario planning. So back in 2017, Tatiana and I started in our financial meetings, we started to prepare by getting liquid and having cash reserves and contingency plans, because we know based on history and being around our mentors and our life team that every 7 to 10 years, there's a market correction to some degree. Sure. And so back in 2017, we started to, just like a squirrel, we started to stockpile cash. And in 2018, 2019, we were divesting, we were doing things to get cash on the sidelines so that if there was a downturn that we could be liquid with cash to take advantage of the opportunities. We also bought a lot of MREs, meals ready to eat, which you can get online or you can buy in stores where they're meals ready to eat, which was ration food. So we always wanted to have a 6-month food supply. And we wanted to have a minimum of 1 to 2 years liquid cash to cover all of our personal professional expenses as an emergency fund. If you study some of the wealthiest families in the world, you'll discover they have 1 to 2 years liquid cash reserves for everything. You look at Microsoft and Apple, they have around 2 years liquid of cash reserves for all their employees that work within the company for their payrolls. So we wanted to make sure that we were well protected financially. And so what we do is through the scenario planning, so 2020 for us was an incredible year. For us, we bought a lot of real estate, Tatiana and I. We did really, really well financially. In 2021, 2022, we're looking at mergers and acquisitions. We're going to start acquiring companies because of the ripple of impact from 2020 with COVID-19. There's a lot of small business owners that have been disrupted. Plus, there's a lot of baby boomers throughout North America internationally. These men and women are aging, and their children don't want their small mom and pop business that they've had for 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 years.
Right.
So we're approaching some of these people throughout North America and having conversations about looking to acquire their companies and give them a nice, 2 to 3 year or less exit strategy so they can exit and enjoy their quality life with their kids or do some hobbies or do some traveling or do some things that they've worked their butt off for years to do. And so the thing is 2020 was challenging for a lot of people. The thing is, how do you turn a crisis into an opportunity? It's a mindset. And it's who you surround yourself in your environment. So, we call it the Saint Coronavirus because it was a Saint Corona. It was a blessing in disguise for many people who saw the opportunity. But unfortunately, in North America, 78% of the United States and Canadian population live paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
I've been there.
Right.
I've been there where there's not enough money at the end of the month. And so how do you break out of that cycle? And that's something we can do in another episode where I can show you how to break free from working a JOB, a job where you're living paycheck to paycheck. How do you break free from there? And then over the next couple of years, get your money right and then start moving towards financial freedom or financial independence.
Right. No, that's interesting. Is that hard? I'll ask one more question here. Is that hard when you guys start going to cash, seeing that your cash is really doing nothing other than being dry powder?
Good point. It's a game we play. It's a mindset of mental toughness and focus to realize we're just playing a money game. And that's the key thing. What I've discovered is because otherwise we get stressed, right? So what you want to do is if you want to, let's say, for example, you're struggling right now financially and you want to get your money right, give yourself 2 years. I always say, give yourself 2 years, 24 months to course correct and turn things around to start getting your money right. The first thing that people don't do is they don't pay. So if people look at when money comes into your bank account, I always ask people in terms of daily habits and daily routines, tell me what's the first thing you do when money comes into your account? Like, well, I don't know. So great. Well, let's pull up your statement and look, right? Let's look at your statement of your bank balance or your credit card statements. Let's look at your statement because let's look at your history. And the key thing is what people say, well, I got to pay my bills. Okay, great. So what's the company's names that you paid? So they list off all their cable companies, their landlord, they list off, all these different places. I said, great. I said, do you know what's not on the list? They're like, what? And they go, you're the one that took the greatest risk. You're the one that got up early, went to bed late, did all the work, took all the risk. And yet you're not on this list of getting paid. You paid everybody else. You paid all those bills, but you didn't pay you. So what you're telling me is you actually don't value you. Be like, of course I value myself. Well, I know from experience that I didn't value myself. Because if you valued yourself, you would pay yourself first. Well, Darren, I don't have any money to pay myself. Well, let me ask you a question. If next month the federal government issued a federal state tax that they're going to tax your income 10%, you're going to get upset, you're going to be mad and all that stuff. But guess what? Over the next 30 days, you're going to calm down and you're going to adjust to it. You're going to find ways and get resourceful to make sure that you make ends meet and you pay that tax.
Sure.
Because you're going to be in compliance with the laws of the government. So effective immediately, Sam, I'm going to impose in the next 30 days a tax, an investment savings tax on your family household. And guess what? You're going to take a screenshot and you're going to text message or email me your deposit for $100 into your bank account. Well, Darren, I don't have the money to do that. Great. Let's cut off your cable television for a month. You're not watching it anyways. Well, I can't cut my cable. Let's cut off your Netflix account.
Right.
Let's have one less meal a day. What do you mean one less meal? Well, you can release 20 pounds of weight. So let's have one less meal. You're eating pretty good because you're a little bit overweight. Let's have one less meal a day. See, I was once homeless.
Right.
And I used to teach at homeless people, if you have one less Coca-Cola, one less Diet Coca-Cola a day, you can have a little bit of change to start putting money away. See, it's not the amount, it's the habit. It's the habit. That's the mindset, is the habit. Is people say, well, I don't have any money. Okay, great, but we can develop a habit. And when you develop the habit and you're consistent with the habit, the results will change over a period of time. So it's all mindset of habit. So if you look at what I do during the waking hours of my day, it's all daily habits and daily routines. And that's what keeps me focused. That's what keeps me on track. That's what keeps me on course. That keeps me away from chasing shiny objects, right? Or get into speculation and taking high risk ventures, because I have daily habits and daily routines. And I have a 1-page plan, which is my roadmap. And then I have scorecards and scoreboards that measure and track that. So I know if I'm effective or ineffective, if I'm on track or off track. Now, here's the key thing. A lot of people say, well, yeah, that's a lot of work to do that. Yeah, in the beginning, there's some heavy lifting. But I'll promise you, in the next 30, 60, 90 days, you incorporate this into your life. And after about 90 days, you'll adjust to it. You're like, man, this is like, I see people, Robert Kiyosaki and Kim Kiyosaki wrote a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Sure.
They created a board game called Cashflow 101. You can play it online for free. Just go, Cashflow 101 board game, Google it. You'll come up for free. You can play the online version. You can get the board game on Amazon or buy it at richdad.com. I think is their website. Right. And that game has the rat race and has the fast track. I lived for many years in that rat race. Now I live on the fast track. And I know what it's like to go around and around and around the rat race of living paycheck to paycheck. But if you start to incorporate daily habits and daily routines, which I don't mind sharing with people what I do, because I've spent over $1.2 million in the last 30 plus years through mentorship, coaching, training, development, traveling the world to study and be at the feet of some of the most influential people in the world who are masters at daily habits and daily routines. And I'll just share it with people. I just want to pay it forward and pass on because one of the things that I do is I competitively outgive people. I like people are go-getters. I'm a go-giver. I want to competitively outgive people in the world. And that's the key thing is a mindset is outgive. Like when I go to conferences or, like right now I'm doing some things online because of the COVID thing. When I'm on these conferences, if I have a chance to contribute, I outgive everybody in the group. I outgive. I'm always constantly outgiving. Sometimes I'll buy books. I'll give books away. Sometimes I'm giving recommendations. Like that, just to provide value, to be a go-giver and to be in service through love and generosity and contribution. Because all we are is a network of conversations. And we're either memorable or forgettable. See, most people, when you meet them, they're forgettable. I make sure I'm memorable, right? We're either attracting people or we're repelling people. When I was growing up, I used to repel people because my attitude, my energy, and my mindset. Now I attract people from around the world. That's why we can build and create a 250-year legacy plan for global philanthropy projects, because we're attracting people versus repelling people.
That's awesome, Darren. We could go all day. You have such high energy. I don't even want to interject anything here. I just want to see where you go as you keep talking. So
I just want to provide value and serve people, because I know what it's like to not be able to pay my bills on time. I know what it's like to be homeless. I know what it's like to be scared to death of not where my future is. I've been there. I've had those days where I don't want to open up the blinds in the morning. I've had those days where I don't want to get out of bed. I know what it's like to do that. I want to just love people and serve people, to empower people. And if it's not for those people, it's for their children. Right. I'm fighting for your children. I'm fighting for the next generation to protect your children or your grandchildren.
That's awesome. I don't even know if we can ask the final four, because they're the same final four I always ask, but I think you've covered all of them in one way or another, but we'll just go for it and see what happens. Sure. If you were to give one piece of advice to an aspiring investor, what would that one piece of advice be?
Build your life team around you. Don't do business deals. Don't do investment deals by yourself. I've made a lot of mistakes over the years. Always trust a woman's intuition. Always trust a woman's intuition. So powerful. If you look at my group of companies that I have today, they're run by women. Right? Just women's intuition is so powerful. Have women on your team. Always ask them, what's your intuition tell you? And listen to what their intuition tells you. It is so accurate. It's so incredible. I get tears in my eyes because I tell you, I've lost a lot of money over the years by not listening to women's intuitions. Now, the last few years of my life, I listen to women's intuitions.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah. Where were you a few years ago? You could have saved me some heartache. What's one thing you're currently doing to stay on top of your game?
Daily routine of health and fitness is a key thing. Health and fitness. I also read. I write out. I have a daily journal. I handwrite things out. I write my personal promises. So I have. I'll just quickly show you here. So these are my top 10 personal promises to myself, and then so I have my personal promises. So I write out my personal promises to myself every morning, every nighttime. So minimum 730 times a year.
Wow.
As a focus and a discipline. Why? Because I'm always present to where I'm going and what I'm committed to and get what I gave my word to.
That's fantastic.
You ask people today, hey, what are your top 10 goals or personal promises this year? And people say, well, I don't know. 9 out of 10 people, the number one answer is, I don't know.
Right.
Then how do you know where you're going to go? What's your flight plan?
Right.
How can I provide value to your life and contribute to your life if I don't know what you really want in your life?
Right. No, that's absolutely right. Man, that's brilliant. I like the promises. Of course I've got goals and it's all written out, but I don't have the personal promises. And I love what you've said about that, about what we promise to ourselves. And if we break our promise to ourselves, how that takes away our own even self-esteem.
Well, and if you say a goal is out there.
Right.
If I say, hey, Sam, what's your personal promises? Your personal promises are in your heart.
Right.
They're personal to you. And what you give your word to, you will follow through on. So when you make a personal promise to not lie, cheat, or steal, you make a personal promise.
Sure.
So I always say, rather than call them goals, call them personal promises. What you give your word to.
Right.
You're committed to the mission.
That's awesome. You talked about this already, but it's the same. Again, we're going through the final four, which is what's one thing you're doing to make the world a better place. And I don't know if you want to recap kind of what you said before.
So profit for purpose. So I love building financial wealth, profit for purpose. We can't take it with us when we die.
Sure.
So to me, it's about building successful companies for cash flow, for profit, and then using that profit for purpose. We've created a private family foundation called Link Foundation for Global Philanthropy, Tatiana and I, and we're actually going to create a for-profit arm that we're going to actually produce income-producing cash machines that will generate a lot of money. And that cash will then pay for the overhead and administration expenses for the nonprofit arm, which then will create generational legacy wealth for 250 years, 3 generations. So it's profit for purpose. So Titi and I have already achieved a lot of financial success. So, our passive income pays for our lifestyle, right? We've learned how to do that now. Sure. And so what we do now in our lives is we acquire more companies, we buy more real estate, we're passive investors or cash flow investors. And through that passive income, that cash flow then goes to support global philanthropy projects because that's our planetary assignment. Right? We feel that we're Teti and I are selfish. We're using all these natural resources. We're consuming all these natural resources on the planet. So we want to give back and make it a fair means of exchange so it's always in balance. So we protect the planet and we take care of Mother Earth. But also, one thing I've discovered from my experience is if you empower entrepreneurs to become really, really successful, really, really financially successful, guess what they'll do? They'll take on solving big challenges and problems in the world.
Right.
Look at Elon Musk. Look at Sir Richard Branson. Look at Oprah Winfrey. Look at all these different people. I can go on lists and lists of people that are entrepreneurs that once they become financially successful and they go through some liquidity events or capital events, they then go out there and say, okay, my family's taken care of, right? My necessities of life, my expenses are taken care of. Now I want to serve the planet in a bigger way. That's what I love to empower people on and mentor people is, okay, let's get your money right. And then once we get your money right over the next couple of years, then let's look at what your local community assignment is with where you live. Then your state or your province. Then look at nationally, internationally. Then let's look at astronomically, globally. What's your global vision?
Right. That's awesome. Darren, I love that. And I look forward to doing this again sometime soon. If our listeners want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, you can Google my name, or you can go to darrenjacklin.com. Or if you want, you can go to ugandachildren.com, which will then take you to our foundation website called link.org, ly2nk.org. And you can see all the stuff we're doing around the planet with global philanthropy. And if you want to be involved with some of our projects, we also we do a mentoring program. We don't charge you money. It's about $100,000 program a year, training development program, where we actually have you contribute some volunteer time, a few hours a week. And we do it all virtually on Zoom, and we mentor and train you and put you into virtual teams. And we take on playing different games, and we train and develop you on what I've done in my life and what Titina has done. and then we let you live it in your life. And in exchange, you're doing work with the foundation to make a difference in terms of creating a 250-year legacy plan and making a difference in terms of global philanthropy and humanitarian projects around the world, which we love to do.
That's awesome. Darren, thanks so much for your time today. It was great having you on and certainly appreciate it.
I'm grateful to be here, Sam. Thank you so much for allowing me to make a difference.